Guys, I woke up this morning energized and ready to get into some college football picks to really analyze these games, and we've got every single college football ranked matchup for week number 6. This is my official score prediction, and we do begin in the noon window on Saturday. It is Big Noon, who keeps following Michigan around. That's perfectly fine with me. Keep following Michigan. This is the Big Noon game, Michigan at Indiana. Michigan, 21-point favorites. And guys, I think people are really underestimating how bad Indiana is due to their 3-0 start. It was kind of fluky. They should have lost to Western Kentucky. They should, have multiple losses at this point. I think Michigan, covers this spread, and they get the job done against an Indiana team who I picked to finish last in the Big Ten. They're not going to finish last, but they're going to finish towards the bottom. They're coming off a loss to Nebraska, of all teams. Give me Michigan 41-17 in that one. What a fun matchup this is. It's Tennessee traveling to LSU. LSU newly ranked. Tennessee, a top 10 team. Tennessee listed at right around 3-point favorites, although LSU with a 59% chance to win according to ESPN FPI. I think Tennessee gets the job done on the road. Close win. I do not believe in Jaden Daniels. I like Tennessee's offense and their explosiveness and their ability to generate big plays. They can get massive chunks of yardage. They don't have to rely on a 10 or a 12 play drive to score. The offensive explosiveness of Tennessee will win them this game. I would not touch the line with a 10-foot pole. Tennessee right now favored by 3.5. I think they win by 3. I'm staying away from it. I'm staying away from the over-under. I think it might be in the mid-50s right now. And again, guys, it's a situation with LSU. I don't think they deserve to be ranked. They're still a decent team. They certainly have talent. But I don't buy Jaden Daniels even at home. This is an 11 a.m. Central start time, I believe, in Louisiana. I will take Tennessee. But I will say Tennessee has a very hard schedule even after this game. They do get this win, though, 27-24. The next noon game, it is big. The college football game day is, in Lawrence. It's TCU coming off the massive home win over Oklahoma. They're on the road taking on 5-0 Kansas. They were just ranked for the first time in forever, and I do have TCU winning a shootout. I think there's decent value on Kansas plus the 6 in this matchup, even though the models love TCU because of their dominance over Oklahoma. TCU, veteran quarterback. Kansas has a really good quarterback. This is going to be a higher scoring game, really good matchup, but it's a situation where I am taking TCU on the road. Their dominance against Oklahoma, in my opinion, was just too much. They are a well-put-together team. They do have a good offense. And Kansas, I think their Cinderella story, at least for the time being, comes to an end. Although if they lost this game 33-30, they're still going to be ranked, in my opinion. They'd be 5-1 with a really close loss to a TCU team that would probably jolt inside of the top 12. Yeah, guys, the Big 12 is crazy. There are no great teams, but there are so many good teams in the Big 12 this year. The next matchup, this is a 2:30 start time in Cincinnati. It is the University of Cincinnati reappearing inside of the top 25. They're at number 24. They're at home against South Florida. And guys, South Florida is a horrific football team. They're just so bad. Cincinnati, they're well coached. They're at home. They're about 28-point favorites. I cannot see Cincy losing this game a week after being ranked. I do not think this game will be close. Cincinnati, significantly better than South Florida. This will not be a letdown at home. Cincy coming off a win over Tulsa on the road. They come home. And guys, South Florida's defense, they're allowing, 480 yards per game. They are pitiful, and they get crushed, and Cincinnati actually covers the 28-point spread. They've got a decent offense even after losing Desmond Ridder. Moving on to the 3:30 window, it's going to be Auburn traveling to Georgia. Georgia, of course, coming off that narrow win over Missouri. Somehow they're still ranked number 2. Somehow they received like 55 first place votes. Of course, we understand why that is. It's due to that ridiculous week 1 win against Oregon. They are listed as 29-point favorites. I think it's just way too much. I am not buying this Georgia football team. Georgia will win at home. They can't run the ball. Auburn's got a new explosive young quarterback that I like. You know, Auburn did lose to LSU, but it was a close game, and Auburn was up 17-0 in that game late in the second quarter. I'll take Georgia at home. They're not covering the spread. I understand why Vegas put it there. But Georgia this year, I've said it from the beginning, it's not happening. I don't know what people are seeing in Georgia. It is not happening. They underperform against Kent State. They underperform against Missouri. You're trailing by 10 points in the third quarter as a 30-point favorite, and people are still ranking you number 1 that next week in the polls. The next day, after Georgia nearly loses as 30-point favorites, we've got people ranking them number 1 in their polls. The AP people, the AP voters, it is remarkable, guys, and we're trying to fit a square peg into a round hole with this Georgia love. It's not happening this year. Get it through your heads. They'll win this game, but I think Georgia is losing possibly to Tennessee at home, possibly to Florida in the neutral site game, guys. Watch out. And then they'll lose in the SEC Championship. That is my prediction in that. Next, we have Texas Tech traveling to Oklahoma State. You know, Oklahoma State, what a massive win against Baylor. Texas Tech, a decent team. They had a tough loss last week on the road at Kansas State, but they were competitive, and I believe they covered the spread. I think they cover the 10 in this one, but Oklahoma State, we have to respect what they've done. They get the win. Once again, guys, the thing with the Big 12, no superstar teams, but a lot of really good, solid football is being played in the Big 12. Another solid game here that Oklahoma State ends up winning. Personally, I think this could be the type of game where Oklahoma State is up like 34-24. Texas Tech scores a touchdown with like 10 seconds left, and it makes it a closer game than it is. But either way, I do think it's going to be a close game with Oklahoma State winning. Next, we've got Utah on the road in the Rose Bowl. And guys, this is like the equivalent of me killing my own child. I love Chip Kelly. You know, trust Chip Kelly. We love him. He's a superstar. He's a motivator. He's a CrossFit champion. He's a winner. I said it last week. Trust Chip Kelly. It worked out against Washington. Guys, I think this Utah team is on a warpath. I really do. I've got Utah winning this game, covering the spread 37-30. They've been crushing teams. They easily beat Oregon State last week. They're so sound. They know they have to win out. There's no margin for error for them. UCLA, as much as we love them, this is a parity game. They're not going to start the season 6-0. They're due for a loss. They did run through a gauntlet of a non-conference schedule. We respect them. We respect what they've done and their resume. But I will take Utah to win this one 37-30. It pains me to do that. Moving on to the 4 o'clock games, we've got Ohio State traveling to East Lansing. And guys, similar to last year, just a horrific matchup for Michigan State. They still cannot defend the pass. Of course, we saw how bad it got last year at home. Ohio State scored 49 points in the first half. Maybe it's not as ridiculous this year, and it's becoming increasingly annoying to try and predict with Ohio State and their injuries. Do they get their running back back, Trevion Henderson, the superstar? Do they get JSN back, or will they want to play it safe as 25-point favorites and sit JSN and rest him for another week? I don't know, but it is a horrible matchup for Michigan State. They're 2-3. They just lost by 14 to Maryland. They have one of the worst pass defenses in college football for the second straight year. Ohio State, it would be very surprising if they at least didn't get to 48 points. And also, Michigan State has taken a major step back on offense as well without Kenneth Walker. I'll take the Buckeyes big on the road in a 4 o'clock ABC matchup. We've got another 4 o'clock game. It's going to be Ole Miss traveling to Vanderbilt. And guys, this is a typical letdown game for Ole Miss. They will win this game, but they will not cover the spread. That Vanderbilt logo is so sexy. I love their new logo. And that actually did influence me in making this game closer. I just think the logo The game's at 4 o'clock. It all factors into the idea. It all factors into everything. It's out there. We see everything. And Ole Miss is going to win this game, but Ole Miss is a total fraud. They beat an overrated Kentucky team. They're not covering the 18 point. I think it's been bet down to 18. I know I listed it at 19, but I believe it's been bet down to 18 right now. I will take Vandy to cover, Ole Miss to win the game on the road. It's a letdown game after a big emotional home win for them. The next there's a lot of 4 o'clock games, huh? It is Washington traveling to Arizona State. Arizona State, under the radar, they played well against USC. They easily covered the spread. Washington coming into this game limping in after losing to UCLA. Washington is 13-point favorites. And folks, this is another Pac-12 upset. Arizona State, they've got momentum. They've been playing better football. Washington, they're due to come back down to the pack. That loss to UCLA was not as close as the score indicated. It very easily could have been a 20-point loss. They scored late twice and got a 2-point conversion to make that game close. Washington is on fraud alert at this point. Remember Washington's big win on ABC in Week 3 against Michigan State? It's not looking so big now. I will take Arizona State to easily cover the 13-point spread. They've been playing better recently. They played well against USC. I know they lost, but I like Arizona. They can score. With Emory Jones, they can score. They're at home. It's going to be, 100 degrees there in Tempe, Arizona, or wherever, But I do have Arizona State winning this game in an upset. We are on to the 7:30 window, and we've got, guys, for some reason, this game is on ABC. I don't understand it. I don't know what they're thinking. It is Clemson traveling to Boston College. Boston College kind of getting back on track last week, playing well against Louisville. I believe they were 13-point underdogs and easily covered. Very higher scoring game in that one. Clemson, I think they're going to be kind of low-key this week. They're coming off a major home win against NC State. I like BC to cover the 20-point spread. It's just a little bit too much for my liking. This Clemson offense still has things to work on. The receivers, to me, on Clemson are a big question mark. And Boston College, they got off to a horrible start, but it seems they've righted the ship. They've got a quarterback that does have some NFL pro potential. So I'll say, you know what? I think Boston College plays inspired. Maybe it's a closer game at halftime. Clemson easily pulls away and they're in control in the third quarter, but Boston College is able to cover the 20-point spread. That's the vibe I'm getting from this 7:30 ABC game. I don't know what game Fowler and Herbstreit are going to call, but it certainly won't be this one. They may actually call, is the Kansas game on ABC? Or ESPN? I'm guessing it is because Texas-Oklahoma is on Fox. Or wait, is Big Noon? Big Noon is not at Texas-Oklahoma. Does ESPN have the rights to Texas-Oklahoma this year, folks? They might. I don't know, because I know that game's happening this week. Next, we have Washington State. There's another 7:30 game at USC. So, guys, the vibe in Southern California, this is a 4:30 Pacific start time. You're going to get the shadows coming across the field. I'm liking a higher scoring game, and I am liking USC to cover the spread. USC keeps having these games where they're facing solid teams, but it's just they have more talent. I like USC to win this game. I do think USC will get upset, and it will be an epic upset at some point this year. But again, they're at home. Washington State is actually a team that they're, one meltdown away from being possibly a top 15 team in the country with the Oregon debacle, where if they win that game, who knows where they're ranked right now. So it is unfortunate, but I do think Washington State is due for kind of a bigger loss, and it would be here. USC gets a pretty big win, 45-28, and they do cover this spread after not covering the past 2 weeks. The next 7:30 game, it's going to be South Carolina and Spencer Rattler on the road at Kentucky. Kentucky listed as a 10-point favorite. And guys, I like South Carolina to win this game outright. Kentucky is extremely overrated. They lost last week to Ole Miss. They're going to come home, and they're going to lose again to an under-the-radar South Carolina team who does have some offensive playmakers. South Carolina coming off a major win against an FCS school. I think it was SC State is who they beat, but I'll take South Carolina on the road. This is just me thinking Kentucky is overrated. Even if Kentucky wins this game, I don't think they're covering the 10.5-point spread. Their offense lacks explosiveness, although they do have that young true freshman receiver, Brown. He is a beast, but other than that, I don't think this Kentucky team is too good. The next 7:30 game, it's Army on the road at Wake Forest. We've got a great color matchup. Look at the two color schemes. It just looks a bunch of gray and black. It's beautiful. Wake Forest, they are right around 15-point favorites. This is a typical letdown game for me personally. I've got Wake winning, but not coming close to covering that 15-point spread. I understand Army is 1-3 on the year, but guys, Wake Forest, it was emotional last week. It was a major win on the road at FSU. They controlled the entire game. You know, this is a week they're kind of due for a bad one, and Army will keep this game close with their rushing attack and drain the clock, really. Wake Forest gets the win, but Army easily covers. That's how I see this game going. The next 7:30 game, this is a neutral site game. It's going to be BYU at Notre Dame. Very weird game that we're seeing neutral site games in week 6. Notre Dame actually 3-point favorites in this one. And guys, I'm trusting Marcus Freeman. I think Marcus Freeman and Notre Dame, after their bye week, they've solved some things. They crushed North Carolina, and North Carolina's a decent team. They're coming back, you know, against the BYU team, who's decent, but they had a kind of a really disappointing performance against a horrible Utah State team where they didn't even come close to covering the 24-point spread. I'll take Notre Dame not at home in a neutral site affair against BYU, 34-23. Their offense is waking up. Notre Dame still does have a good defense. People overreacted to Notre Dame after their Marshall loss. Listen, it's inexcusable, but this Notre Dame team is still talented, and they got that bye week after a big win against North Carolina to right the ship, calm down, and you've got a very winnable game against a BYU team that is kind of struggling recently. I'll take Notre Dame in that matchup. The next game we've got, it's Kansas State on the road at Iowa State. Iowa State, they've lost 2 in a row. This is another typical Big 12 matchup. Kansas State just 2-point favorites. Iowa State actually favored, given a 55% chance to win by ESPN's FPI. And guys, this is a situation I just cannot see Matt Campbell losing 3 games in a row. We're looking at a lower scoring game. It's a 7:30 game, probably on ESPNU or maybe ESPN2. Love the under in this matchup. Love Iowa State on the money line or plus the 2. They will get it done against the Kansas State team who is very streaky on offense, in my opinion. I know they're ranked number 21. The parity in the Big 12 is just too much. Iowa State is due for a win. This is a parity game. It's a correction game. They get it done. It's close. It's low scoring. At home, 20-18. We've got the major. This is CBS's primetime game, so CBS does get an 8 o'clock game. They get one a year, and this year they picked Jimbo Fisher at Nick Saban. The sting has kind of gotten taken out of it a little bit with Texas A&M struggling recently, and Alabama maybe without Bryce Young. We'll see if he plays. Alabama listed as 24-point favorites, and it's ESPN's FPI. I don't know if it was glitched when I was looking at it. It's given, well, I'll tell you what, it was glitched. There's no way the FPI would give Alabama a 96% chance to win. I could see maybe 90 or 89, but I put 96 because that's what it said. I do not think that's right. Bama listed as 24-point favorites. I love the over in this game for some reason, and I do like Alabama to cover. Although it is really risky right now. We're going to see what Alabama's game plan is with Bryce Young. Although it looks like their rushing attack is really coming on. Texas A&M has a decent defense, but they completely got trounced last week against Mississippi State, where they gave up like 42 points. I do think A&M will be playing from behind. Maybe they'll get some garbage time points. Realistically, when it comes to like betting, I'm probably staying away from this game due to the unknowns around Bryce Young. But if he does play, I do like the over. The next matchup, another 8 o'clock game. It is Oregon traveling to Arizona, so another weird start time. This is starting at 5 p.m. Pacific, and Oregon listed as 12-point favorites. I don't know what network this is on. I do not believe it's on the Pac-12 network. Maybe FS1. I don't know exactly. Or maybe Fox. And guys, 3 words. Trust Arizona football. Arizona's been playing great recently. College football needs this result to happen for the fate of the universe, for everyone involved. Arizona needs to win this game. We're hoping it. We're praying that Arizona can get this done and beat Oregon. Of course, we're dealing with the whole situation with Oregon, and if they keep winning, it's not good for college football. We need Arizona to win this game. They've got a good enough offense to do it. And guys, my expert analysis says Arizona pulls off the upset. Take them plus the 12.5 at home against Oregon. The final game of the week. Is this an 8 or an 8:30 game? Maybe it is 8 o'clock. It is Florida State coming off their first loss of the year. They will be traveling to NC State. And guys, I like NC State to get back on track. Florida State, I think, is still worse than their record says they are. So they're due for a few more losses. They lose this game. NC State, kind of an aberration last week. Their offensive line got crushed. Should be a little bit easier this week at home against FSU. They cover the 3-point spread and they win this game 31-21 and get back on track for their season. They're still a solid team. But guys, those are my official college football week 6 picks and predictions. Make sure you're following me on Twitter. Link to that's always in the description. I'm, of course, the Depressed Ginger. Thank you for watching.